YouTube. How the hell are you? This is Around the Sticks with your host, IconicBelow, and today we are talking the COD League, league stats, hashtag Rostermania, and even retirement. I hope you all enjoyed the updated layout and video. But of course, Optic Gaming is first, as they have been for a while at 10-2, with going 3-1 this week. This is the last games with the old roster that included nade shot. So make sure you guys look out for those games. I should be throwing in some highlights right now on screen. Next is the World Champs, Denial at 7-3 with a record this week of 3-1. Third in the league. Well, actually, it's third through eighth, which is a tie between FaZe, who went 2-2 this week, bringing them to 6-6. AR, who went 2-0 this week, bringing them to 5-5. ON, who is actually 5-5, who went 1-1 this week. Justice, who fell off and went 1-3 this week, bringing them to 5-5. And last is TK, who went 3-3 to bring them to 6-6. And eighth is Rise, who went 0-2 this week to bring them to 4-4. Ninth is Prof, who is surging right now to bring them to 3-1. And that brings them to 5-7. 10th is Elevate, who struggled with their new roster going 0-2 to bring them to 4-6. 11th is Envy, who went 1-1 this week to bring them to 4-8. Last is the English import DCM, who truthfully doesn't have a chance at this point, who is 3-7 after going 1-3 this week. Now, as always, the ugly. These players have not stepped up after champs, and they are playing below where they should be. First is the young god Attach. Many people would consider him one of the best slayers in the game after watching Call of Duty champs, but he has slacked off in the COD League, obviously, because everybody is saying just straight engagements is what is important in his specific game style. But truthfully, as that slayer he needs to be getting the kills. He should have over a 1 KD, yet he's at a .93. Truthfully, to me, everybody's comparing him to a Scump or something like that, especially players like Clayster and JCap. He's not a Scump yet. He needs to be winning those gunfights on the hill, on the drone, every time that he gets a chance to, and he should be at least a 1 KD. I'm surprised he isn't averaging at least 30 kills per respawn, but right now he's averaging 26.5. It just baffles me after his champ stats that he's playing this poorly. Second is the inconsistent AR Slayer Goonjar. With being an AR Slayer, him using an ASM1 isn't just his strong suit. He has a .91 KD and a 25.1 kills per respawn. If you compare him to the other players that have switched to an SMG, being that secondary AR, JCap, Formal, Parasite, and Enable all have stepped up to the plate, bringing the switch to an SMG. Goonjar just does not match up. Third is a recently dropped player Theory. After dominating in the past two lands in S&D, he isn't where he should be stat-wise. At a .89 KD and 24.88 kills per respawn, he's behind quite a few of the other objectives in kills. Fourth is Ricky. He seems to be quite the journeyman this week after joining his fourth team in the Optic Nation with having a .89 KD and 25 kills per respawn. It's surprising that he doesn't have as good of a KD as Goonjar even, with having around the same amount of kills per respawn. If he had better slayers around him, I'm sure Ricky would succeed. Last is the new coach for Envy, Merc, with a .81 KD and 22 kills per respawn. At being the bottom of the bucket in most stats, Merc being the amazing AR, if he comes back, I really hope for his sake he comes back as an AR, because this SMG, somewhat of a slayer objective player role, is not good enough for him. He needs to be the player like a Clay or a JCap and just dominate one side of the map, and that's the best thing for him to do. Next is the top 15 slayers in the league right now that have over 20 maps played. There will be 3 players at the end who are actually statistically better than some of these players, but don't have the maps played right now. Number one, as it has been, Octane at a 1.36 with 31 kills per respawn. Second, Formal with a 1.25 and 33 kills per respawn. Number 3 is Scump with a 1.19 and 31 kills per respawn. Huke at a 1.16 and 32 kills per respawn. Number 5, Anticity at a 1.15 and 29 kills per respawn. Number 6, Clayster at a 1.12 and 31 kills per respawn. Number 7, Crim at a 1.1 and 29 kills per respawn. Number 8, Saints with a 1.09 and 31 kills per respawn. Number 9, Zuma, the recently traded Zuma actually, at a 1.08 and 30 kills per respawn. Number 10, Burns at a 1.08 and 28 kills per respawn. And next is number 11, Enable at a 1.07 and 27 kills per respawn. Number 12 is surprising to me is Killa at a 1.06 and 27 kills per respawn. Number 13 is Slasher at a 1.06 and 26 kills per respawn. Number 14 is Slacked at a 1.06 and 27 kills per respawn. And number 15 is Looney at a 1.06 and 28 kills per respawn. Now, if you think about this, this is really surprising to me. Karma is not on this list, and Killa is. That's quite baffling to me. There's some other players like Apathy that aren't on this list, and maybe a few others that you guys can think of. The 3 that just haven't got the maps played yet are Happy, who is now on AR at a 1.4 KD and 32 kills per map. Number 2 is Sender, as we've seen in the beginning of the league, at a 1.17 and 33 maps played. And number 3, the new Prophecy player, Mochilla, at a 1.1 and 30 kills per respawn. Now, I would like to talk about hashtag Rostermania and break down exactly how these teams will be improved or made worse through the trades that have happened so far. Right now, I am recording this on Thursday morning, so any trades before this point will be talked about at least a little bit. The trades that I do not break down extensively are Happy going to AR and things like that that don't include 2 teams, and as well as Karma. I didn't break down quite a bit just because everybody knows adding another Slayer into that team instead of Nadeshot will change up the meta for that team, but will not drastically improve that team as well. First, Envy trades Nameless to TK for Looney. Envy gets the aggressive OBJ Slayer to help Saints and create that duo that they needed. Now, obviously, he is going to replace Zuma. I feel like Looney is a step up from Zuma. If they have both of these players playing the SMG role, this shouldn't be a problem. This move helps Envy rebuild their team with a great base of Saints and Looney, obviously. TK gets the AR they needed, obviously because they're not having Goonjar play an AR, they are probably going to have Nameless play the AR. And if they have Nameless play the AR, this team is going to be dominant. This team should be running 2 bells. If they continue to keep Goon on an ASM, they will lose every time. Next is Nagafen is traded from Owen to FaZe Sensor. When I wrote this part of the script, obviously I didn't know if Sensor was going to be traded off Owen or not. Owen is probably the only team that gets improved by this because I felt Sensor was actually going to stay on Owen. And personally, I feel like it would have been pretty fucking awesome to see Sensor on Optic Nation. Next 3 trades that happened are kind of grouped together if you really think about it. FaZe trades Nagafen to Elevate for Ricky. FaZe trades Ricky to Owen for TP. And then FaZe trades TP to Envy for Zuma. First, let's break down FaZe. FaZe gets the roster of what they want out of Zuma, Huke, Slasher, and Enable. I think out of these 4, Zuma needs to be the objective-minded player. Obviously, they are going to play that way that Aches likes to, where it's kind of a progression. This person jumps on, then this person, then this person, then this person. But I feel like Zuma needs to be the first person, then probably Enable, and then probably Huke, and then Slasher. If they don't play like that, it's going to break down really quickly, especially with Huke and Slasher being their 2 main kill players. And then Enable being that support player. And then Zuma, I feel like he doesn't have as much gun skill as the other three. Next up, ON gets Ricky. They get their in-game leader and the AR they needed, but in the end, I feel like this team has actually been made worse. They could have had either the TR team or other squads with the captain of TP or something like that. If they had TP and Ricky, or if they had TP and Mochilla or another AR that was sitting out there waiting to see what was going to happen, they had the possibility of creating a really, really solid team. And Envy adds to the core of the amazing objective player, TP, with having the amazing slayers of Looney and Saint. Obviously, TP is going to succeed more than what he did with Optic Nation, just because he has those slayers behind him. ON trades Facento to elevate for Huddle. This is just a trade of bench players. I feel like ON got the shit out of the stick if you really think about it, just because Facento actually deserves a spot on a league team, with Team Revenge actually coming in second at COD Champs. Now, next trade, Envy trades Aqua to FaZe for Aches. Envy picks up a huge bench boost with the pickup of Aches. He could also become the AR Slayer for this team if Proof doesn't work out. Eventually, he ended up being traded. I feel like FaZe isn't done with trades. Obviously, they trade for Aqua, and this seems like to be a plan to trade for somebody like TJ Halley for being that duo with Huke, and that could end up being that SMG objective player that they need. They could end up trading somebody like Enable away to somebody like ON, and I would think that would be quite awesome. Let's keep an eye on this FaZe roster, obviously, because I don't feel it's set. Next up, TK trades Theory to FaZe for Parasite. TK is the only team that really ends up improving in this trade. They get a top 5 player, and I hope for TK's sake he does great things. Obviously, he's been quite toxic for many, many teams so far, but this team looks amazing. And to me, this team has a higher chance to be a top 3 team than FaZe, just because they are a more well-rounded team. And I feel like if you look at them, it's going to be between them and Envy to be that third team. Next up, ON trades Sensor to Prophecy for Embos. Now, Prof gains Apathy's duo, obviously. Personally, I thought Sensor and Apathy would end up in separate places, but with the in-game proven leader like Doug, this team definitely got better, and now, with the next trade I'm going to talk about, it got even better. Hail to the Chief. The captain is back. This brings back Optic Embos, although this brings back the original ON. They lack slaying badly. They need somebody to slay, and I really hope that they trade away at least 1 or 2 players. I hope they trade either Ricky and Killa, or Killa and... I think the 2 problems are Killa and Ricky, truthfully, but that is me. Envy trades Aches to Prophecy for Study. This trade really kind of only impacts Prophecy. It brings back the core of Aches, Sensor, and Apathy. Obviously, you guys all watched the Columbus Open that started out AW, and those 3 players won it. Now, they upgrade with a top 15 player in Moch. Obviously, they want to be the best, and if Aches wants to play, they are going to win. But that has yet to be seen if he wants to win yet or not. So make sure you guys keep an eye out for him. Rise trades Perplexed to FaZe for Theory. Rise gets the objective player that they need. I feel like this is just the beginning of the end for this Rise roster, and they are going to make a change. There is so many good players out there right now that needs to be on a top tier team, and obviously they're not. And last but not least, OG trades Nagafen to ON for Karma. As we all know, this has been the biggest trade before the deadline. This team is just a better FaZe if you really look at it. Obviously, they were the top team by quite a bit when they had Nade Shot. This adds more to their slaying, but to me, it really detracts from their objective play. If they're actually objective-minded, this may not be a problem, but we really, really have to watch that. 3 Slayers and Karma could create dominance or could create death for this team. If Karma isn't happy with something and he starts acting like the little brat he has been recently, there's going to be major problems, obviously. Hector isn't going to deal with that. And truthfully, after the last time he flipped out about TP and Miracles, I wouldn't have kept him just because of his attitude. He hasn't been grinding out YouTube. He hasn't been grinding out streaming, really. And that's his downfall, really, if you look at Optic. They look for those players that do everything that they possibly can to make themselves better. Now, I'd like to talk about what I feel could help the game succeed. Many, if not all team games, have positions for every player. I have thought of some positions that make sense with Call of Duty and the way it is going, and it would help show some diversity. First is the Slayer. Players like Scump and Enable and people like that play like a Slayer. Maybe they play an SMG Slayer now, and they play out of their mind aggressive, and they are the players with Overclock and SMGs, and just play aggressive over and over and over and over and keep attacking the objective. Next is the objective player. They obviously play the objective, and they can use any weapon class that they personally feel comfortable with. You can look at players like Fizzerp who use an LMG and things like that, who will even jump on the hill if he is needed to. Next up is the class I call the Specialist. This person can use any specialty guns like LMGs, shotguns, or snipers, depending on what either the map calls for or the game type calls for. This player will be the person that helps the objective player in just controlling the objectives, obviously, because if they have an LMG, they're going to end up holding spawns. If they use a shotty, they're going to be controlling the hard points, and if they have a sniper, they're also going to be controlling lanes. And last but not least is the Commander. This is players similar to Clayster and things like that, a stationary AR who will control an entire side of the map and command his team where to go, do this, do that, and will end up being... This creates diversity in the guns that people would see. You could also throw in things like a Slayer needs to use 2 streaks, an objective player needs to use a non-lethal streak, the Specialist needs to use something specific, and it just creates that diversity in between classes, and it makes it so that way people need to learn the class before they play it. Obviously, if you look at baseball or football, you're not going to have a wide receiver being the quarterback, or sometimes there is if they already know that skill set, but it depends on how the specific person plays in order if they're going to succeed. Now, last but not least, I would like to give a nice big thank you to Optic Nadeshot, who has recently taken a break. Personally, I feel like it's going to be a retirement just because of everything that's been going on. He's going to go out and have fun and play some tournaments, obviously, because he is a very, very competitive person, but I would like to give him a huge thank you for everything he's done for competitive. Every single person that watches this podcast obviously enjoys competitive Call of Duty, and personally, I've been watching since Modern Warfare 3. Nate has been one of the first people I subbed to, and obviously I enjoyed his content if I stay subscribed now. So thanks, Nate, for everything that you have done to the Call of Duty community and giving me and many others that drive to succeed in this business. All of us have that competitive drive now, and it seems like the content is only obviously getting better, and most of us can attribute that to you, Nadeshot. So thank you so much for everything you do. Hopefully you are actually able to see this, but who knows. As always, we will end the show with what makes this show possible. First, Cinch controllers, use code ICONIC to get 5% off any purchase on the website. Make sure you use the code down in the description if you do not know how to spell ICONIC. There is also a link in the description to donate if you enjoyed the content. And as always, this has been your boy IconicBelow. Peace out.